on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. Let's go with y'all. Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. But first, stay on this one. Yep, I am doing multiple uploads today. So let's get right into it. Are Leo trade-ins or law enforcement officer trade-ins worth it? Are they a good deal? And I'm sure a lot of people who are new to the firearms world are seeing a lot of websites, for example, PSA, pushing specific deals. Oh, Leo trade-in, Leo trade-in, Leo trade-in. What does that mean? Leo is short for law enforcement officer. So a Leo trade-in is a trade-in from a duty weapon that was carried by a law enforcement officer and more likely than not was used by said law enforcement officer. A lot of times what a lot of people tend to not realize is Leo trade-ins can be very, very useful for two particular reasons. The majority really only think of the main one, which is finances, and I will get into that. But for starters, even if it is a firearm that requires a quote-unquote break-in period, which the majority of the law enforcement trade-ins do not, because they're usually Glocks or, maybe even you might find some SIGs, some Berettas, but mainly Glocks. So that really isn't an issue. But even if it was a firearm that required a break-in period, you're probably going to be well past that break-in period. What does that mean? That means the firearm is going to run smoother for you. That means there's going to be less malfunctions for you to have to clear. Overall, it's just going to be easier for you. That's a pretty nice benefit if you think about it. And I understand, again, the majority of police trade-ins in this case aren't going to be anything that requires a break-in period. However, the chances are slim, they're never zero. However, though, beyond just the break-in period, which again, that is very helpful. Why the firearm is broken in, it is going to be smoother and easier to operate, and it's going to be reliable still. But beyond just the whole break-in period aspect of it, now we get to talk about the financially positive aspect to this. Let's say you wanted to go buy a brand new Glock 22. That's probably going to run you about $600-700, depending on where you go to. Maybe depending on what generation you get, maybe 500, whatever. But if it's brand new, it's not going to be, probably any less than 500. Law enforcement trade-ins, while sometimes are in condition and other times are in phenomenal condition, law enforcement trade-ins are about half the price. So, $300, you're getting yourself a Glock. $350 per se, you're getting yourself a Beretta. So it really just depends on what firearm you're going for, obviously. But saving half the cost of the firearm right there and pocketing that is extremely beneficial, to say the least. Overall, a lot of people, they try to, make fun of people who go for law enforcement trade-ins. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, if it's that good of a deal, it's that good of a deal. I hate to say this to you guys, but a $300 law enforcement trade-in Glock is going to work just as well as Joe Schmo's Glock down the street that he just bought brand new. As a matter of fact, there's even a possibility that your Glock that you got as a law enforcement trade-in might even work better. Why? Because while a lot of law enforcement officers do take their job very seriously and they do practice a lot and they do train a lot, there are also a ton of them that don't. Like a good deal of them that don't. What does that mean? That means their pistols are in great condition because they're barely ever in use. So you will be getting a almost new Glock possibly for half the cost, or even if it's not a Glock, if it's a Beretta, if it's a SIG, whatever it is in this particular case, whatever deals you were finding that law enforcement officers are trading in right now, the whole point is that getting it at half the cost and a pretty good chance of it being almost brand new, I really don't think you guys could beat that deal. So a lot of people, they ask, is it worth it? Is it a good deal? Should I go and get one? Yeah, I don't see why you shouldn't. However, I do want you to remember that you must do your own research on it. What does that mean? That means you want to make sure that if you see something that says law enforcement trade-in, you don't immediately just click buy. You want to make sure you read the description a good bit. You want to see what kind of condition the firearm is in before you purchase it, obviously. And I'm aware, you're going to be ordering it online. You're not going to be able to see it too much physically in person until it gets there after you ordered it. However, if in the description it says very much used or something along those lines versus almost new, those are very huge differences, guys, just to say the least. So while yes, it can be a phenomenal deal, as long as you're not being a bozo about it, you'll be more than fine. But with that being said, I do think that about wraps it up for this video. I don't want to keep going in circles on this topic. However, I did feel like this topic was worth talking about. Why? Because those who are new to firearms, they don't know what a law enforcement trade-in deal is. Those who are just curious about them and are like, hey, is it really worth it? Are the firearms actually going to be functional? What condition do they come in? In the end, I think this video definitely needed to be put out there. But with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all in. Whether or not you agree with me about my thoughts on law enforcement trade-in deals, go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. Whether or not you like them, whether or not you hate them, whether or not you think they're a waste of your money, go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. Make sure to check out all my other videos. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.